G'day, g'day guys. Welcome to Look at This. I realized that I was down to my, I thought I was down to my last sheet, but guess what? I was actually out. So huge thank you to Bobby. Thank you so much for my product. I absolutely loved my birthday present. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sending me these amazing products that I absolutely love. And I will hopefully do justice to each and every piece that I put my hands on. Thank you so much. I'm actually using this particular layout. I want you guys to think about your products slightly differently. That is what we try and do here with Create with Karen. We don't reinvent the wheel. We just think differently. Here you go. Do you happen to have the 1-inch cubes? If you do, give this a crack. This was just something I wanted to use the inks, but I didn't want to use another product with it. Now I did pull out blues and purples, but as I was going, I realized I don't want to do blue and purple. I'll just do purple. So this particular, sorry, Tassie was on the phone. That's my mum in Tasmania, by the way. Tassie, I call her Tassie. My kids call her Tassie, actually. But, yeah, so I was just getting rid of that out of the way because guaranteed my phone would probably fall into my mess. So I'm just using the edge of the ink pad. I'm laying it on a slight angle and I'm just creating lines. Just run with lines. I'm using a few different colors. I'm using Shaded Lilac, Seedless Preserves, and Villainous Potion and Dusty Concord. They're the 4 purple distress inks that I'm using. These are not oxides, these are inks. And then I gave it a light spritz, and then I pulled out my LYNDYS Magicals. I pulled out High Maintenance Magenta and Prima Donna Purple. To say this was fun, just letting go and just getting back to basics. This was so much fun. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes I find certain processes very repetitive and just, like when I did my tree last week, it's a very repetitive and it's very robotic. And I love doing that sort of thing, don't get me wrong. But then the flip side to me loves doing things like this, where I just go to town and I just play and see what happens. Now, when I started doing these lines, do you want to know what my inspiration was? Triangles. That's what my inspiration was to start with. I saw a triangle and I went, oh, I haven't done triangles for a while. That is literally what started this whole process off. Apologies about the glare. I think I managed to block it 99% of the time. This is the one part of my afternoon where I get a little bit of sun in my craft room. Now, I went to town. This was so much fun. So I did the ink and then I did the LYNDYS Magicals, just put a little tiny bit on there. And now I've pulled out my Distress Oxide watercolor pencils. Now, these Distress watercolor pencils, why did I say oxide? Anyway, now I know these colors match beautifully, but they give you a different finish. And that is why I pulled these ones out. So I used, in the Distress watercolor pencils, I used Shaded Lilac, Seedless Preserves, and Villainous Potion. All I'm doing is getting my pencil, I dip it very quickly. Like, you do not leave your pencil in the water because it will just dissolve. You can see all I'm doing is just wiping it. I do, for anyone that's new here, over the top of my my pink mat, my, what do you call it? Self-healing mat. Over the top of that, I've actually got a clear plastic placemat, and that's what I'm putting my pencils onto and using as a palette, because it's just easier and it was simple, and that's what this particular layout was all about today. It was just about being simple. Now I'm using a little bit of Villainous Potion here, even though it's super dark, it really is, but when you paint it on like this and you've diluted it a little bit, it's not as dark. Now, triangle, a single individual triangle was my inspiration to get started. But as I started going, I started to think of, I was thinking of, you know, those, you know, when you see like Mission Impossible, you know, when he goes through, or was it Mission Impossible? Catherine Zeta-Jones did it in a movie. You know, where they have like it was on Big Bang Theory as well. You know, where they have the laser lights and they smoke it sort of thing so you can see where the lights are. It sort of made me start thinking along those lines. And then I realized, okay, you need to bring it back a notch because you're going cray, Karen. Like you really are. Now, the other thing I want to bring to your attention is, even though I'm using these 3 watercolor pencils, I'm mixing them a little bit because the shaded lilac is just, it leans more to a blue for me than, this is just my eye, rather than a purple. So when I mixed the shaded lilac and the Villainous Potion together, it kind of gave, was it Villainous Potion? I think it was. Yes, it was Villainous Potion. It sort of gave me the Dusty Concord vibes. So mix those 2 together and you'll be surprised at the result that you get. Now, it was at this point that I realized, no, we're not going to go down the Mission Impossible zone. We are going to go down the lead light zone. So I started to feel at this point that it was a little bit more like lead light glass. That's what I was feeling the vibes with. So, see, super easy cleanup. Even though these watercolor pencils are so pigmented. I know you hear that a lot with certain products. The color payoff, all the lines, the color payoff, the pigmented, the true colors, you know, all that sort of stuff. You hear all of these things. But when it comes to these watercolor pencils, I've got to tell you, they are amazing. They really, really are. I know they are an investment, so I'm going to let you know in advance. I'm not forcing you to buy them, but if you want a product that really gives back, this is the one. It's amazing. Now, I'm gutting my paper because I've done this on a sheet of VICKI BOUTIN Foundations paper and cardstock paper. It is super uber thick. It's for mixed media. It is brilliant. I absolutely love the stuff, and it didn't need to be backed on another thick sheet of cardstock. So that's just taking up valuable real estate in my albums. So I gutted the black cardstock to give myself a border, and I know I'm coming in with black. It really, when you put the black on there, it really highlights how dark the Villainous Potion is. And it's really, really dark, which is great. Now, of course, I had to replace my tape runner. These are the tape runners that I use. I like these ones, not because they're cheaper, but because of my hands. And I find my hands, I've got really bad rheumatoid arthritis, and I have fibromyalgia, and some days are easier than others, and I find these smaller tape runners easier for my hands, so that's why I use these ones. So now, what else can I tell you about? So I'm just matting my photos so I can pop these on here. Now, I didn't want these to go on straight. There is nothing straight about this layout. All the lines are going in all different, I mean, the lines are kind of straight, but it's kind of, I didn't want them to be straight. Now, this is where I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, because I was like, hang on, what am I going to use as a title? So I started pulling out my thickers, and I ended up pausing the video because, man, I went down a rabbit hole. I know I use my Cricut a lot, and I don't buy a lot of thickers anymore. I do buy some, but not a lot. And I hit a brick wall, guys. I haven't done this in years, but I've hit a bit of a brick wall where my thickers, I'm just out of them. I don't have enough of them to create my big long titles. So I have to start thinking a little bit differently about how I'm going to use them up. And yeah, I've come up with another layout and I'm actually going to do it today. So it'll be up next week to show you what to do when you're down to crazy thickers. You're down, you got no E's left, you got no R's left, you've got no T's left. What do you do? So, yeah, so that'll be coming up next week. Now, this particular layout, I know I go mixed media heavy a lot of the time, but this week I've really focused on stamping, and now this coming week I'm going to be focusing on journaling versus titles, and I'm going to show you some different ways of doing that. So what I'm doing on this particular layout is I have gone to my Tim Holtz Small Talk stickers, and in these, I haven't had anyone talk about these for ages. They're literally in a little flip book, and they're called Tim Holtz IDEA-OLOGY Small Talk stickers. Now, you get 296 stickers in the booklet, and they're sort of generic. There's a stack of these books. I've got all of them. Does that surprise anybody? But you get them in a black finish and you get them in a white. So they've got a white background or a black. So it's either black on white or white on black. And for this particular layout, I went through and I found a heap of little sayings that totally worked for these photos. Now, I want to show you, this is actually a 3rd birthday photo set for Jennifer, and she always is. She has got the most infectious smile. This child, I say all the time to anyone that listens to me, this child was sent to us because she's the comedic relief that we need in our lives. We've had a lot of things happen in past years, and she has always been our rock that can make us smile, that will make us giggle. She has got a smile on her face. Okay, this week she's been sick as a dog in bed, but she is always smiling. Her smile is infectious, and this is why I scrapbook these photos. Are they the perfect photo? Have they been taken on the perfect angle? No. That is not what I scrapbook. I scrapbook the everyday. And that's what I think sometimes we get caught up in. We have to continually have events happening. So birthday parties, going to shows or Eckers or Eckers, sorry, that's a royal show for us here in Australia. The Ekka is in Brisbane. Now, or we need to go to events like monster trucks, or these are things that we enjoy, going to the monster trucks in the city, or going to the Speedway, or the V8 supercars, or going to Bathurst, all these things. Yes, they're wonderful, but 95% of our lives are in the everyday. Think about that. Seriously, it unless you're a bazillionaire and you're Elon Musk and you've got untold amounts of money that you can just do whatever you want every single day of your life. That is not me. But unless you're that, you unless that's you and that's your bank account, 90% of your photos will be of the everyday. Scrapbook them. Make them your focus. These photos are, yes, they're of a birthday. Jen opening her presents on her birthday, and yes, she lit up like a Christmas tree. But scrapbook the everyday. get back to basics. This is where, when I say we're going to get back to basics, I don't necessarily mean back to scissors, a ruler, and a Stanley knife and a black pen. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about we are all in different phases of our lives. We are all wanting different things in our lives. For me personally, YouTube is where I want to channel my energy at the moment, and this has been so fulfilling for me. I didn't know that people, this is going to sound really dumb, but I didn't know that people didn't know how to scrapbook like this. And it's been an eye-opener for me. And I've realised I've actually got a lot to teach. I've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of different things that I can teach you guys if you want to learn them. And it's just a matter of me working out how I can continue to do that and bring it to you for free, because that is really important for me. I don't want to hurt the hip pocket of my subscribers, my followers. I would rather have 1,000 followers that, or 1,000 subscribers that come back daily and enrich my life with knowledge and direction, than having 2 million followers that get snarky and narky in the comments. That's just not who I am. That's not what I want our little corner of YouTube to become. So now I've got all deep on you guys and I've sort of gone in a bit of a deep zone, but I think sometimes I need to do that so you guys know that when I forget my words, when I come to you raw, that is what I am. That is who I am. I'm not a well-polished machine. I haven't been on YouTube or social media in a professional capacity. I haven't been doing that for a million years. I'm rough. I'm Karen. I'm raw, not rough, but I'm raw, you know. This is what you get. And I want to show you guys that I'm just a genuine person that just genuinely wants so much for each and every one of you. And I absolutely love this craft. I love everything about it, whether it is, you know, just doing some basic bits and pieces or doing something like this and going to town. Now, I am using glossy accents. It looks like I'm using a lot, okay? Bobby, I promise I didn't. I really didn't. This is actually still my bottle, but it's not the point. I love using shine and shimmer and glitter and bling on my layouts. Now, on this particular layout, as I said to you, it started to feel a little bit more like lead like glass, you know. It started to feel a bit more like that. So I made the decision that, you know what, I'm going to go to town with my glossy accents and I'm going to fill in the squares that I have, or the squares, and they're not squares, they're more triangle, oblong looking things, pentagon sort of looking things. I wanted to make them look more like they are glass and add some reflection on the page. So this particular layout, even though the LYNDYS Magicals are on there, they are not necessarily, it's not all about the glitter, it's about the shimmer and the reflection. And I love texture on a page as much as I love when this dries. I did this layout yesterday, I'm doing the voiceover today, and I actually came in and the first thing I did was rub my hand over this page. Oh, it felt so good. So yeah, so give it a try. Glossy accents, the bottle I'm using is the big one. It comes in a 59ml or 2 ounce bottle, and it is amazing. You can use it as a glue, you can use it like this, you can use it, there's so many different ways. Now, this is the zoomed in version. This was done this morning once everything was dry, so I didn't muff it up. Now, the reason it's a bit wrinkly is because I was trying to be, I was trying to speed it up yesterday and I used the heat tool on it and I shouldn't have, but that's okay. It's all dried this morning and it's a little bit wibbly and wibbly wobbly, but that's okay. So what can you do to help out? I would love it if you smash that like button, leave me a comment, let me know where you're from, any of those things. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I've got about a 40% rate at the moment of people watching and not subscribing. It's free, guys, and it helps out the channel. So subscribe before you leave. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.